Hey.
Hey.
Hey, guys. Welcome to Dude That's Fucked Up.
Hi, fellow listeners.
Brow, 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 brow.
I say fellow listeners because I'm probably the number one listener of our own podcast.
Yeah, I'm like, hi, fellow listener. Not listeners. And once again, hi, Mom.
Hi, Mom.
The only people that listen. And when I make DJ listen, I'm always like, DJ, will you like listen to this to make sure there's no like weird stuff? Like when you send me like the final draft, and we'll like listen like in bed, and I'm like laughing along, and he like falls asleep, and so then I'm just like listening to my own voice, and it's like on the other side of like on the windowsill like next to him, and I'm laying on the left hand side, and then my podcast is playing on the right hand side. I'm like, yeah. He's like surround sound, like just me like laughing
at him and then, through both sides.
Yeah, and then I'm like laughing at my own jokes, and then I'm laughing at your jokes. So I think I'm a narcissist, guys.
It's magical. I like it. I don't care. I woke up laughing to it because I listened. Like, once I posted it, I listened to it just to make sure it was, like, good on I downloaded it, and I was on a flight, and I was listening, but I was so tired, so I was falling asleep. And then there was a part, I don't remember what it was, where I was, like, asleep, and I, like, I woke myself up.
Probably the part where we're, like, crying, laughing.
Probably.
What were we talking about?
Oh, so many gross things last week. But, yeah.
So this week though, it's just gonna be keeping it light with medieval torture devices.
This podcast is torture.
Yeah,
because this is the second time we've recorded it today.
Oh yeah, we fucked up earlier. We thought we did a great job and recorded a whole entire episode, like an hour and 20 minutes, and all the audio is fucked up, so
we're redoing it, and it probably had nothing to do with the fact that we had one cocktail.
Now I'm well and truly into this box of wine. It's fine. Mm-hmm. So yeah, we're talking about medieval torture devices and how they're fucked up. Thank God we don't torture people the way we used to in the Middle Ages. That's specifically what we're talking about is medieval torture.
This hasn't changed through history, but there's a lot of butt stuff.
A lot of butt stuff. A lot of things that are going inside of people.
Yeah.
A lot of genital mutilation.
Like, what the fuck? Why is that so, like, interesting to people through history?
Because it's super delicate. like I'm scared to get a fucking like bikini wax, and like people are like, well, we're just gonna sit you on top of this thing and kill you by it. We're gonna vaginally kill you.
Fucking bikini wax, that is a form of torture. But yeah, I feel like in the olden days they probably would have like tweezed each hair one by one.
Oh my God, have you ever used an epilator?
Yeah, I use that on my armpits.
How? Okay. Talk about torture. Like, I bought an epilator, and I used it on my legs, and I sat there, like, sweating and shaking and, like breathing really hard, trying to just do one part of my leg. I was like, whew, and I have a fucking high pain tolerance, and this was, like, the worst thing I've ever inflicted on myself.
No, for my armpits, if I shave them, they get like rashy. So, But the epilator, because it pulls, so basically an epilator is like all these little tiny tweezers, and they catch the hair and rip it out by the root. And so,
oh my God,
instead of shaving it, and like, I don't know why, but yeah, the epilator is better for me. But you also have to let the hairs grow in a little more. So like, sometimes I have like hairier pits.
One time I accidentally had hairy pits because I just forgot.
It happened. Who fucking cares? I feel like body hair removal is fucked up, and maybe we'll do an episode about it, but like no one removed their body hair like a long ass time ago. It's probably only in the last 100 years.
I do like to keep it nice and trim.
I
don't
only
like
because
to.
we feel like we have to.
Well, no, it's like when you pee, it's like there's like pee beadlets like hanging off your pubes, and then like that's gross. It's like a billy goat fucking.
Your fucking billy goat pubes.
I'm sorry.
I was still talking about armpit hair, but yeah.
Oh, I've moved on. I'm talking about keeping your. I don't care about armpit hair. Like armpit hair is like. I think that's kind of cute. It's like, oh yeah.
Yeah, because girls like armpit hair is dainty. It's not like a dude's
The
armpit
gross,
hair.
like wiry fucking stank hair. But that's what pubes remind me of is like.
We were talking earlier about Matilda.
Our first recording, when we had our lives together. Now we're like drunk and trying to record an episode.
We're not drunk.
Well,
I'm not.
Well, I'm gonna keep drinking this wine.
But we were talking about this like torture device. It's called the Iron Maiden, and it's basically like a mummy's tomb that you stand up in, and they enclose you in it. And
like a sarcophagus.
Yeah, it's like a sarcophagus, and one side has spikes in it. And I was like, oh, that's like the Chokey on the movie Matilda, and I couldn't think of
From the book Matilda.
Oh, well, sorry. I'm like a fucking basic bitch.
Yeah. God,
the
book was so much better than the movie.
Oh my God. But I couldn't remember the school, like the principal or headmaster's name which was Miss Trunchbull, but I called her Miss Crumplebush.
And it was like, nope. It's Trunchbull, but it sounds like her pubes are so long that she has to like wad them up to get them in her underwear.
I was just like picturing her like fragilely folding them up in like an accordion into her underwear.
It's like Rapunzel.
She had to braid them and like Princess Leia braid them.
I wish that was the fairy tale.
Maybe it was. Oh
Yeah.
my God. What if Rapunzel's pubes were just really long? He climbs up to the top. He's like, oh my God. Staring face to face with her billy goat bush.
Oh, God. Oh, so if that was torturous for you guys to listen to, of us just laughing and losing our shit about pubes, you're going to love when we get to... Are you okay? Okay. Oh, well,
I couldn't swallow my beer.
I'm
Okay,
sorry.
I'm good. Oh, deep breaths. Oh, okay. Yeah, let's do this.
Let's do this. We're going to get to the content of the episode now.
It's getting meaty.
So when I think I was like maybe 15 years old, my mom and I took a girls trip out to the Huntington Library, which is like a beautiful gardens.
Yeah, like botanical gardens.
Mm-hmm. In LA. And they also occasionally have exhibits, like where they do, it's like a museum, basically. They have like art and whatever else there. And this one time that we went, like in the late 90s, they had an exhibit of torture, and I was like, let's do this. And my mom's like, all right. And she's like, don't you want to get like mani-pedis? And I'm like, nope. Let's go look at how people sawed people by the vagina. I don't know. She's like, okay.
I want to see the vagina saws.
Yeah. So we did this this torture exhibit, and it has stuck with me. I remember the one of them was what was it called, the pear? What's
the Pear of Anguish.
Pear of Anguish. Yeah.
Yes. Oh my gosh.
So the Pear of Anguish was like this thing that you'd stick in somebody's butthole or vagina, and then you like twist a screw, and it opens up these petals inside of the person, and you could put it in the mouth, and it'd break their jaw.
The same one.
Probably. They weren't washing their torture devices. They didn't have like a dishwasher to stick this shit in.
We're gonna put this doo-doo pear in your mouth now.
They're like giving new meaning to ass to mouth.
Or old meaning.
Or old meaning. The original meaning.
The OG meaning of ATM.
Oh my God. That was one thing. So like there was actual like replicas of like all the devices and stuff. And then another one was the Iron Maiden. And that's like classic. Like that's a thing that everybody thinks about, like pop culture wise. Like when you think of torture devices is like, oh, the Iron Maiden, like we were talking about the Chokey from Matilda and
the book.
The book. Fuck.
Miss Crumplebush.
Miss Crumplebush putting the little kids in this baby Iron Maiden. But upon doing more research, it was not real.
Yeah.
It's thought that it wasn't real. It was like this guy, Jeffrey Peacock or whatever his name was. His last name is Peacock for sure. I don't know if his first name is Jeffrey, but like I don't have the article open because we fucked up the original episode. So we're doing it live.
We'll do it live.
We'll do it live.
Fuck it, we'll do it live.
Fuck it, we're doing so this guy just made it up in like the 1800s saying that like trying to be, so like the Enlightenment happened, that's why torture stopped. Like they like wrote this like document saying like we can't have cruel and unusual punishment. That's where that phrase came from. I don't know the name of the article. Somebody can email it to me at dudethat'sfuckedup@gmail.com.
Or not. Fuck off. Like no one, who cares? You read it. It's fine.
That's not even the name of our email address.
Yeah, it is. Email that.
Yeah, go fuck yourself at gmail.com. Anyway, Iron Maiden is not real, probably because this guy was like, look how advanced we are and civilized now. Look at these horrible torture devices that existed. And he like made up the Iron Maiden when all the while there was like actual devices that were fucking gnarly and like horrifying, and like the methods of torture that they had were actually like 10 times worse than the actual Iron Maiden. Like the Iron Maiden is quaint at best if you want to get down to it.
Yeah, it basically just like made you stand still. It didn't. You weren't like impaled by it or anything. It was just kind of pokey on one side.
Yeah, it was like,
so you stood there.
Yeah, if you like, I would say from a psychological perspective, it was worse if you think about it. It's because you like are standing up, and they just like they like the way that you're made to think about it is you're just in there like for 24 hours a day, and they would let you out maybe for like an hour, but it wasn't real.
Yeah, so it doesn't matter.
Who cares? Let's get down to like the actual things that were real.
Yeah, the real shit.
The Judas cradle, that was real.
Mm-hmm.
That was basically like a pyramid triangle shape thing. That was about like, I don't know how big it was, but basically you'd be suspended above it and then slowly lowered onto it by either your butthole or your vagina. And you would have weights tied to your legs so that it would pull you down, like the gravity of they would tie more and more weights on, and the gravity of those weights would just keep pulling your body down onto the cradle.
Like a stool with a pyramid on it.
Yeah, it's a super inappropriate name for what it is. Like a cradle? Jesus Christ. Okay.
Yeah.
They were fucked up in the Middle Ages.
Well, and like people from that one, because they didn't clean any of the shit, would like mostly succumbed to like blood poisoning because it would have been up this guy's butthole yesterday and when he died. And today it's your turn, so you're like lowered onto it and his butthole juices and like bloody chunks.
They didn't have hoses back then, guys. They had like buckets of like fetid water that they were just like splashing and being like, it's clean. The brazen bull, that one's gnarly. It's basically like a chamber, like an iron thing that is shaped like a bull, like roughly probably, and you put a person inside of it, lock them up inside of there, start a fire underneath it, and the metal around you, like pretend like you're in a little like teeny little chamber and there's a fire burning underneath you and it heats up all the metal around you so you can't touch anything and you're just trapped inside this little small space.
Like roasting to death.
Roasting to death. And you can't touch anything, but you have to because you're locked in. You're in there. And the thing that makes it the brazen bull, quote unquote, is because when you're screaming in agony, they have these like little tubes around it that like amplify your moaning and screaming and distort it to make it sound like a bull. The fuck are people doing? I don't know, man. Shit.
It's so, that one I read was like, that was definitely like a medieval torture device, but it originated in ancient Greece, I read. Did you read that?
Yeah. It's really old.
Yeah, it's really old, but obviously effective. So they used it throughout. But it's like so weird to think that it was someone's job to like orchestrate the tubes to sound like a fucking bull.
Like, how do I, like it was like the first like,
What?
Oh my God. It was like, you know how there's like, you can, like the what's it called?
Auto-tune?
Like, the auto-tune.
Except it's all, oh.
Oh my God.
It's like the opposite of pleasant, which is what auto-tune does, I feel like. It's like, how horrifying can we make this death sound?
Hey, you guys, there's a person in here frying to death. Like, do you want to hear it?
Yeah. Oh,
don't do crimes.
Oh.
So that's the brazen bull. Another one that I thought was horrifying is the breast ripper. Guys, it's exactly what it sounds like.
Oh.
It's a clamp that chomps onto your titty, and you just rip it off. You just, oh God.
Oh my, a chitty chomper. A titty chomper.
So there's like corresponding like punishments for whatever
the crime.
Yeah. So like the breast ripper would be for a woman who committed adultery.
Which what does a fucking boob have to do with adultery? Like maim her vagina.
Or don't.
But like where is the boob? Like the boob doesn't have a major role in adultery.
I think that in their mind it's like letting somebody off light.
Oh, maybe it was indecency.
Indecency, like if you're like flashing your tits, you're like, well, we're just gonna rip that off. Like imagine in New Orleans if you're just walking around trying to live your life and you just want some beads, and the next thing you know, somebody's like arresting you and being like, well, you showed your tits, so we're just gonna rip one of them off. So
yeah. Wardrobe malfunction, that'd be fucked up.
Janet Jackson would be fucked up.
You'd be left with some. Yeah, you'd be left with some titty flaps, like
even
skin flaps.
Even though that wasn't even her fault.
No,
it
was Justin Timberlake. Just like most everything in pop culture.
Ugh, awful. That one's horrible. The heretic's fork is another device that I found especially distressing, where it's like imagine a fork in your, so a collar around your neck, and then a fork-like thing in your neck, like like underneath
below
your chin.
Yeah.
Like, yeah, prongs underneath your chin, and then prongs in your sternum.
So like a two-ended fork.
A two-ended fork, yeah. And that was for, I mean, I don't know what the punishment would, like what crime you had to do to get that punishment, but it was probably like talking shit or something. Yeah. Or, yeah, you guys can't see, but Nicole just made an obscene movement.
It's fine. It's fine.
Another device that was pretty wild is called the scold's bridle. So scold as in like you're nagging somebody, and then bridle is in like a thing that a horse has in their mouth.
Oh, yeah.
Or like on their head or whatever. I don't understand. I don't know horses. I know cats and dogs, and that's it.
I'm not bougie enough for horses.
I am not bougie enough for horses. So the scold's bridle was a heavy iron mask that clamped around the head. Like, remember, like, Man in the Iron Mask with Leo?
Oh, yeah. That's a good movie.
Yeah, I love any Leo movie. But basically imagine that, but, like, with a thing in your mouth that if you, like, tried to talk, it would, like, fuck your tongue up. Like, it would, like dig into your tongue, cut it up. So this is a punishment mostly given to women for being gossips.
And you know that shit would get infected.
Yeah, like your tongue would, oh God. Like sometimes I just brush my teeth when I'm drunk and I like accidentally slip, you know, and it like stab my tongue and I'm like, oh. And then like I can't talk or eat like properly for like the next couple days.
Oh my God, I'll eat a fucking tortilla chip and just like ruin my mouth. There's like skin flaps hanging from everywhere. There's like blisters in there. I'm like, what happened?
It's like eating Captain Crunch dry. Like
that's the most offensive cereal to your mouth.
It's so good though.
It's so good. That's why people eat it. But like, no one's safe.
Again, we've said it we've said it every single episode. I am so glad that I am alive right now in this world.
Yeah.
Even though it can be really shitty sometimes, it's a great time to be alive.
It's better.
It's better
than anything else so far.
Yeah. Yeah, so women-specific torture devices, we got the breast ripper, we got the scold's bridle, we got the Pear of Anguish, which you stick up either a vagina or a butthole. And a lot of these, like, torture devices, and they were specifically trying to keep people alive, but, like, just maiming the fuck out of them.
Yeah.
So...
Because they used these a lot to, like, try and get information. Because they weren't so... Like, they didn't have the type of, like, court system we have today, obviously. No one was being, like, summoned to jury duty. But, like... but, like, they had... you know, like judges or some sort of, you know, committee of people that decided if you were guilty or not. And if they didn't know if you were guilty or not, then they would order torture for you. And hopefully you would confess or give more information.
Right. Yep. Let's see. Oh, and like, yeah. And like the reasons for like people being subjected to this would be like, you know, adultery, witchcraft, blasphemy, abortion, miscarriage, even if it isn't your fault, even if you're not even trying to, like, yeah.
It's just so like, fucked up.
Yeah. So that's fun. And then, so these are just we're just talking about just devices. Like, some of the methods that are, like, specifically awful are, water torture. It's like the water cure, which also could be considered waterboarding, but there's also another thing that they would do, which was strapping somebody down to a table, like arching their back, like, or putting their lower back on a stool, and then putting a funnel with a tube down their throat, and then force feeding them water until they died from it. Oh my God. Yeah, like either their like stomach or bladder or something would explode. That always just seemed horrifying. Yeah. Horrifying. So,
Oh,
I know. That is a intense method. And then another method that I think, aside from like the water torture kind of thing, is the oh shit, what was I gonna say? Oh, I know what it is. It's hanging somebody. So another method that is totally insane is hanging somebody upside down, like by their ankles, spread eagle, and then sawing them in half from their like genitals to their head. So anytime that you hang somebody upside down, their blood rushes to their head, so they stay alive. And yeah, so if you want to keep somebody alive, you work your way up. You don't start from the top. That's actually quote unquote merciful if you're starting from the top. Like, what we commonly see in like pop culture is like the rack and the wheel, aka the Catherine wheel, using that. And if you start from the top, if you're like hit somebody in the head and give them a death blow, you're like either knocking them out or like killing them.
yeah.
And they're unconscious or just dead. But if you start from the bottom, they're obviously alive.
Yeah.
And their arms and legs are being broken. So,
I mean, the rack, I don't know if we should explain that or not, but basically it pulls you. So you kind of like get tied up to, your legs get tied up and your arms get tied up kind of at either end. So you're kind of like splayed out. Mm-hmm. And then they crank the wheels that are underneath the rack and it starts to pull you. And so you're usually like your joints pop out and your muscles get all stretched out to the point where you might not even be able to use them again. And if they wanted to, they could just pull and pull and pull until your limbs literally like rip off. Mm-hmm. So that was like, and that's like a legit and somewhat common form of torture. Like it wouldn't always go that far, but that was what they used a lot.
And it's a way to keep people alive too. Like people, like you would just be horribly disfigured, but it would also draw out a confession because you're in so much pain. So,
and it was a way to torture other people psychologically, because I read that one of the worst things about it, they would bring people in. So like, let's say you and I committed some sort of crime or like we were suspected of it. They would tie one of us up to the rack. And then the other one would have to be forced to watch the other, like, be stretched. Mm-hmm. And that was a form of torture for both people, technically, even though one's physical and one's, like, mental. And so it would hopefully get a confession. But I read that everybody that kind of experienced that, from, like, working it to being near it, the sounds were, like, the most disturbing thing. Like, just hearing the limbs pop and, like, the tension and stuff, like, release because something had ripped or whatever, it's horrifying. Like, and
awful.
And that's, like, what you think of, I think. That's what I think of mostly when I think of medieval torture devices, is something like that.
Yeah, there is also another form of that called the strapado, which is when you actually have your... Like, imagine, like, putting your arms behind your back, like, and grabbing your arms, like, or grabbing your hands, and then having your whole entire body hoisted up by your hands.
Oh, like from the
together,
back
from the back.
Oh, yeah.
And it like pops your arms out of the socket immediately.
Yeah. Unless you're double jointed or something.
Unless you're double jointed, and tears like all your tendons.
Yeah.
And your body weight like pulls everything out, and
excruciating.
It's excruciating, yeah. So, and it like it's more, it doesn't like break bones, but it like snaps all your like your muscles and tendons and stuff. It's really brutal as fuck.
That's gross.
Yeah, so those are some like the more, and like we've all seen like Braveheart, so we know like what being drawn and quartered is like. So you are basically eviscerated, like your intestines are pulled out in front of...
Oh my God. Okay, I haven't seen Braveheart. So
you haven't?
No. And at this point I'm like too old. Like it's too far removed, and Mel Gibson's too like much of a piece of shit that I'm like...
He's anti-Semitic and he's a piece of shit, but I do think there is value in seeing Braveheart.
No, yeah. I mean, it's supposed to be like an amazing movie, but... And those are my people.
Oh, I think you should just watch the last scene.
Where he's quartered?
Yeah. Ew. Where he's drawn and quartered, yeah.
Yeah, well, they sprawl you out, right? And cut you into quarters, like fourths.
Well, what they do is they eviscerate you while you're alive. Like they pull out your intestines, and
my
you're
God.
just like you probably pass out before anything else happens. But you see your intestines coming out in front of you.
Oh my God.
And then what they do is they put you out, like splayed out on the ground, like spread eagle, and they tie a horse to one hand, a horse to another hand, leg.
Oh my
and
God.
Then, and then they whip the horses, and then your body parts literally
Oh
fall off of you.
my God. I didn't know that.
Yeah. Or, I mean, they can just cut your body up, but...
Or, like, use people to do it, I guess.
Yeah, but it's horsepower is what you want.
Literal horsepower.
Yeah. And we're just
I
gross
think
people.
the other, like, the other most common thing is kind of like the stocks or the pillory, which was definitely like torture in that you had to, the stocks are that like wooden thing where you put your head and your hands through it and then they close it and you have to stand there kind of hunched over in the town square. And then the pillory was very similar. It was like a tall, they built them to be like very ornate and like very prominent in the town squares of a lot of European cities. And you'd just be, it was usually like an iron handcuffs and like a neck brace thing, and you just kind of like hung in it. But those were really like more to embarrass you and shame you. But also people would be like pelted with shit. Literal shit, like from The Gathering. People would like throw literal shit at them, but also like rocks and old food and other gross things. So that was like another one.
And you'd be like left out there for like days. Like you couldn't. And sometimes people would die from exposure.
Yeah, and they're
if
in
you're
the
like
elements.
Old, and then you're like pissing and shitting yourself, so that's fun.
Oh.
Piss yourself.
Oh yeah, well there would be like variations of it where they'd have you kind of like in a barrelized version or something where like
barrelized.
What does that even mean? I don't know.
It's a good word.
Yeah, I've been barrelized, but yeah, they had especially
it's like being paralyzed, but you're in a barrel.
Paralyzed. Yeah, you're paralyzed from the neck down.
Yeah.
But yeah, they had like barrel pillories, or they were also called Spanish mantles, but it was mostly to punish drunk people. So again, it's like to shame them. But the English troops used this, and it's fitted over the entire body, but your head just sticks out, and then they just leave you there for a few days, like to like sober up. But like you piss and shit in this barrel that you're like floating in, or what? There's probably like other crap in there. Maybe it's other people's shit too from before you.
It's like imagine getting put into a trash can and like locked into it with just your head sticking out.
Yeah.
For like 2 days.
Like downtown.
Yeah. And then people can come up to you and like slap your head and be like,
come fuck with you.
And make fun of you. Oh, and even tarring and feathering somebody.
Is that medieval? Or was that after?
No, that's like, I mean, maybe a little bit. It's, okay, hot tar being poured on your skin will kill you.
Yeah.
The being tarred and feathered is like, oh, it's a funny saying. It's not a saying. It's like an actual thing.
What if it was just like lukewarm?
I mean, I don't know. I think your skin's still gonna get burned, and you're gonna have burns over like 100% of your body, or like 90% of your body, 80% of your body. It's all bad.
Yeah.
And then you like get feathers thrown on you. You would just, a lot of people would die from it.
Yeah.
It's like a shock to the system, regardless. So
that's sad.
It's not and like it was like to shame somebody, but it was like it would kill people.
Yeah.
So.
Oh, did you want to talk about the people that did it? The executioners?
Oh yeah. Executioners are, I think in pop culture we view them as like these like hulking, like, faceless, muscled men who just are kind of like this gimp like character who wear hoods or like are just
like a ball
shirtless.
gag.
Yeah,
shirtless.
Just so creepy and homoerotic. But they actually were pretty accomplished people who were, while shunned part of society also just a necessary evil, I suppose. And they were as necessary as like a grave digger or a tanner or a undertaker. Very morbid profession, but like necessary. And so they, if they lived in a town or whatever, they'd do like circuits, because not everybody has this specialty. And they're also like actually pretty gifted in like healing arts. They had to keep people alive, so they couldn't kill them. So if they wanted a confession or whatever, they would have to like, sorry, hold on. My cat's scratching at the door. Stop it. So if they wanted to keep people alive, they had to also heal them and keep them somewhat healthy, hanging on. And they were also like probably like military people, like a person who would be able to stomach the like brutality of what they were doing.
But like it's still weird that someone would like want to do that, or I mean that would like put up with doing that, because it's not something. Even now we have people that are executioners technically in prisons where there's the death penalty and stuff. Excuse me.
I'm trying to like figure out what to liken it to now. Like in modern times, I guess it would be somebody who's like a I guess like a mortician, but you're not like actually physically hurting somebody. I don't know. I there's really nothing to liken it to, because you're not.
We don't torture people in the public. Torture people
in public, yeah.
Because there are executioners, but they're doctors now, like in prison.
Yeah.
So and they're always completely anonymous. Like no one knows. They wear like a hood or like. I think they still have to keep their privacy even when they're executing like a criminal, like a Ted Bundy or whatever.
Yeah. Although that person's probably a hero for killing Ted Bundy.
I tell everyone.
Yeah, I can't. It's like a bunch of different roles kind of rolled up into one. So you have, they have like a specialty of being able to heal people while also being very precise, like in killing somebody, and then also having the stomach to inflict pain and extract confessions. So it was a big role, but it was also like society shunned them. So it was also like kind of a dynastic kind of familial role. So you would have like if you had kids, if you were lucky enough to get somebody to marry you and carry on your lineage, your poor son or daughter would also be shunned, and they would probably go into something having to do with like the executioner arts. So, quote unquote,
the executional arts.
Yeah. That's basically it. So, but we have this distorted view of like what an executioner is, unfortunately, or fortunately, I don't know. Just unfortunately for like being from a like historical perspective, like you want to make sure that things are right. Like the Iron Maiden wasn't real. Executioners were not these like gross, weird people, but maybe they were. I mean some of them maybe were.
Yeah. They were just kind of carrying out a task during that time, and people would like come down, like they'd get super excited. All the the public from the town would come down and attend the executions, and they were public events. Like it was like a big deal. It's like how we have like music festivals or something now.
Yeah,
I don't know.
Like the Super Bowl.
Yeah, they're like,
it's true.
Oh my God, yeah! Like, are you excited? I'm excited. And then they'd come down and like they'd get fucking pissed if the executioner didn't do their job right. So if they were, if they were supposed to be kind of like lopping someone's head off, or I don't know, like if they were just supposed to be torturing someone, if they were like a little too easy on them, or if they didn't like hit them in the right way, because I don't know if we talked about the wheel. Oh, we did, yeah. The breaking wheel, like if they were like using the breaking wheel and it wasn't like hitting them properly, or like pulling their limbs apart or whatever, people would be all upset. And it's like, oh, calm down.
Yeah, calm down, weirdos.
Y'all are gross. And one of you is going to be up there next because that guy has to have a job.
You're a little too excited about this.
Yeah. Calm down. It's funny because, like, a lot of the reason that execution was so popular, it wasn't necessarily just to punish people. Like, they felt that it would pacify the offense to God. So, like, any crimes that were committed, they were like, oh, this is how you'll be in good graces again. You need to be tortured to the point where you, like, your body is, your quote unquote refractory body is softened up and your soul is liberated and ready for God. So they felt like if you could torture someone to, like, near the point of death, it would release your soul and you would be, you know, saved, I guess. Which is,
that's a way that, like, cults and various types of religion justify violence against others.
Yeah.
Quote unquote.
Oh my God. What was that? I saw something on Facebook today, and it's like the 20-year anniversary of some mass suicide where they all wore Nikes and they had the purple triangle.
Oh yeah. Heaven's Gate.
Heaven's Gate.
Marshall Applewhite was the leader, and he was the one that, like, led all these people, and he was like, he had like a shaved head and he had these like big eyes and he was just like super creepy, and he was like I don't even know how to describe him, but we'll do a whole episode on, because I think cults are the most interesting thing in the world.
Oh, but yeah, they're so good. Yeah, Heaven's Gate, that's so good.
Yeah. Anyway.
Yeah. So yeah, I mean, it was like a lot of, it's just weird how it had like a religious kind of, I don't know. Oh, well, also the criminals, even because this was such like a widely spread belief, would torture their own selves, and they'd be like, yeah, no, I took care of it, like I tortured myself and I beat myself up and like I'm good now.
Like self-flagellation.
Yeah, and it's so weird.
Yeah. Even people who weren't guilty of anything were just like prostrating themselves before God and like actually hurting themselves, like wearing like the hair shirts, and like had the cat o' nine tails that they'd like whip themselves with. Like,
what's a hair shirt?
A hair shirt's like a really uncomfortable like
shirt made
like
of
itchy.
hair.
Yeah, and well, it's like itchy and gross, and like you'd just be disgusting and like wear it, and it like irritates your skin, and it's just like, yeah, like Catholicism. They're doing the most. No offense to any Catholics out there, but fuck.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's a lot of like monks would wear hair shirts because they're like I said, they're prostrating themselves before God. That's like they're making themselves more malleable, their spirit more malleable for God, and that's part of it, and that's like how they also justify torture. Is by releasing this person's soul, by granting them absolution in the form of this horrifying pain and evilness. So
is a hair, but like, let's talk more about hair shirts because I'm very curious.
All right, hold on.
Is it like a toupee? Like, could you pick your style? Like, could you have a curly hair shirt or like a bleached tips hair shirt?
Like a pube shirt. No.
Whose hair is it? Or is it like animal hair?
It's like goat's hair. It's like made of like
it's like
animal hair.
Like kind of like wool, probably.
It's
like
more
edgy
like really
wool.
more like pokey, like coarse hair from an animal.
Like goat
like
pubes.
You know what I'm talking? Like bristly. Like, you know when you get your hair cut and you like can sometimes get a hair that like pierces your skin? Do you know what I'm talking about?
Yeah.
It's like that.
Like it falls and it's like, ow. Somehow, it's just so...
It's like... Yeah. It's gross.
Was it like a hoodie?
No, it's like you wear it underneath your regular clothes. And so it's like hot and itchy and irritating your skin, and you're like,
but no
get
one
rashy. Knows. Ew, yeah, it's so fucking gross.
Get rashy.
Yeah, it's like it's a lot of monks in the Middle Ages wore it.
Yeah, people love to punish themselves. Is it the sadist or the masochist that likes punishment? The masochist.
The masochist.
And the sadist is like the punisher.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. I always get confused, but I think I finally nailed it.
Yep, you got it.
Well, do you want me to go tell you my story?
Yeah, I want to. Let's talk about the Ted Bundy Jeffrey Dahmer hybrid from the 1500s. That's what I think he is.
Okay, so I want to tell you about this. Basically, a 16th century German bandit who was definitely tortured a couple times. But his name was Peter Niers, or Niers. I don't know why he has two names. Like, it's one or the other. I don't know. Like, maybe that's like a.
Where's he from? Is he?
He's German.
Or?
He's German, but you think like you just have one name and you have one name. I don't, unless it's like translated as Niers.
It's translated probably poorly.
Peter Niers, let's call him. Mm-hmm. Supposedly, he murdered 544 people throughout his existence, but 24 of...
Wait, how many?
544.
What?
It seems unlikely during that time. Like, were there even 500 people?
I feel like you can just murder somebody and it's just like, eh.
Yeah, like, just, keep killing. Or, like, they died of natural causes, but he, like, stuck a knife in them and was like, ha-ha!
Yeah, like, and he's just like, oh, I just got away from this person, but they really just died. And, like, now we have, like, so many ways of, like, deducing who killed somebody. Like, we have DNA, we have actual scientific methods.
And then there wasn't.
And then back then they were just like, well, this person's dead.
Yeah.
They're just dead. We're not even going to try to find the killer. Hardly.
Hardly. Yeah. Well, they tried to find him, but like it just seems really high. I mean, no one in our history, like, can you even think of a single serial killer or anything that's killed 544 people? Like, that wasn't an act of terror. That wasn't like, that was like literally just a serial killer. I don't.
Well, there's a few out there that claim that they have killed more people than.
They're full of shit.
Yeah.
Okay, so he supposedly murdered 544 people, and it included 24 pregnant women and their fetuses. And the reason was because he was potentially a cannibal and also a magician. So he would use, like, the fetuses. Oh,
that's the reason.
Right. Yeah, like, so if you're a magician. So he would use the fetuses as, like, in magic rituals.
Yet more evidence that magicians are douchebags. That need to be stopped.
Yeah. And so he was, like, part of this larger network of fucking magicians. And they were they were all just kind of like, tramping through the land and doing their creepy magic, which was killing people, all through the German countryside and, like, all of Europe. Anyway, so he was part of this, like, society of killer magicians.
Awful.
They weren't magician killers. I think they would be celebrated.
All the worst things.
So he was first captured in 1577, and he was tortured at that point. I'm not sure exactly how, but anyway, he admitted to 77 murders, and then he was able to escape. So I don't know if he, like, threw down one of those smoke clouds, and he's all, see you later, motherfucker!
Like I said, I think this guy's like Ted Bundy.
Yeah, Ted Bundy escaped, but it was probably more thought out. I think this guy was just like, they're probably in the middle of nowhere, and they're like, stay in there, and he's like, okay, and then he left.
Yeah, taking advantage of the fact that they did not have, like, actual, like, security measures.
Yeah, they didn't really have, they just had, like, some hay bales.
Yeah.
That would, like fence you in.
Stay in here.
Oh, I will. Okay, thank you. Bye.
Yeah.
So anyway, he was on the lam after 1577, and over the next few years, until his final arrest in 1581, people started circulating pamphlets, and they were writing and singing ballads, and they were like passing them along like little songs about his cannibalism and his mastery of the dark arts. And one of the examples in one of the ballads said that his gang gathered in Fallsburg, which is spelled Pfalzburg. So the P is silent, I think, but it could be Pfalzburg. And
Salzburg.
and they had a meeting with the devil. So people said they met with the devil,
Yeah.
who gave his blessing to the gang's ambitions and even provided Niers with monthly pay, and which was given to him in supernatural powers. So like
Heyo.
every month the devil's like, "Oh, thank you, great work this month."
Here's your employee of the month benefits.
And here's your supernatural powers. Go ahead and
Great job.
kill
Hail
people.
Satan. Thank you. Bye.
Hail Satan. And then one of the rumors, I guess, was that he could become invisible. So I feel like magic at any point in history, people are just like, fucking magic. Oh my God, you're the devil. But really, it wasn't that he was able to become invisible. It was
He was just so sneaky.
Yeah, he was sneaky, and he was able to make himself quote unquote invisible through like changing his look.
Ted Bundy.
Yeah, he was a master of disguise. Yeah, Ted Bundy.
Ted Bundy,
Because
man.
no one could ever point him out because he always looked basic, right?
Yeah, he's like a basic looking dude, and
Yeah.
he'd like make himself like just very subtle changes.
Like a little mustache, and it's completely a different person.
Or his hair, he'd change his hairstyle, and he was a chameleon
Yeah.
in so many ways. Oh my God.
Well, that was this Peter Niers too, because he could like change his physical transformation. Like he could change his physical look.
But like also by personality, probably like the way he carried himself, the way he talked, like
Yeah.
yeah.
Although, okay, this is fucking crazy because a lot of accounts said that he had 2 crooked fingers and a fucking giant scar on his chin. So it's kind of like, I mean, I guess if you grow a beard, you could cover that up. But I don't know. That just seems kind of weird.
Or maybe he wore like a big Lenny Kravitz scarf or something. And more gloves. Like, it's not that hard.
What's in the bag? Just a really long scarf and like a wig with dreadlocks on it.
Just a fake nose. It's fine.
Yeah, so anyway, there were all these kind of stories circulating in these pamphlets and in these ballads people were
I
singing
love that.
town to town. Yeah.
It's like original memes.
It is, yeah. Oh, it is kind of cute. Although,
Yeah.
you know, the like information in them is kind of shit. It's just kind of whatever. It's like, what rhymes with this word? Okay, yeah, let's just go with that.
Yeah. That's why like none of this stuff is believable.
No.
Like we can't even get our own news stories right within a 24-hour news cycle. So
Yeah.
I think we might be getting some misinformation here, but who knows? I don't know. Who's to say?
Well, and people were also saying, probably in these ballads that were just made up, that he could shapeshift, which is totally full of shit. Anyway.
Yeah.
Okay, so then finally, and this is kind of like what historians looked at in terms of what happened. So there was a ballad that contained the circumstances of how Niers was discovered. Mm-hmm. So he was in Newmarket, which I think is a German city, and he was at a lodge, and he was there for a few days, and finally he was like, oh, I feel gross. I'm going to go like down to the public baths, the bathhouse, and he left his bag behind in the inn that he was staying in, and this is his bag that, like, let's say it housed all of his kind of disguises. So he's down at the bathhouse, and people start kind of whispering amongst themselves, like, oh, fucking, look at that guy's chin scar. Nobody else has that. It's huge. And all the ballads I've heard recently are about that chin scar. And I think that's that killer Peter Niers. And so someone like went and narked on him to the police, and they went to the inn and they took his bag. And when they opened it, which is so gross, it contained several cut off hands and hearts from the murdered fetuses that he took from those 24 pregnant women. Yeah.
What the fuck?
Yeah, it's real gross. And so
Why did he have that?
Well, the kind of reasoning they think is because there was this thing called Hand of Glory, which we talked about earlier on our first one.
If you guys want to know, you have to look it up yourself because we're not going to go into it.
No, we will. We will.
Like, it's like a delicious pickle recipe.
It's basically like when a murderer is executed, they take their hand, they pickle it in mostly urine from people, both men and women, and probably children, and also dogs and cats and horses and mares. It's like any urine they can get their little grubby hands on, and they put some herbs in it, and they like pickle the little hand that they cut off. I don't know. It's probably a normal size hand, and then
grab my hand, child. I made this joke last time, but it's still funny.
It's good. Chris Elliott. Now we know his name at least.
Yeah.
And they pickle the hand. and then they take the body. It's usually the hand. It's either the left hand or the hand they know committed the crime. It's like, how do you fucking know that? And then they use the rest of their body fat, and they create a little fat candle that they put in the palm of the hand, and then they
Wick effect, y'all.
Oh, wick
throwing
effect.
It back to the
oh yeah,
throwing it back to the first episode.
No, for real. It's like they're flammable fat from their body, and then they make a little candle, and they put it in their palm of the severed pickled hand.
The pickled hand. Oh my god.
And they hang it from a church door, and they light it over the course of a night. And if nothing happens to the hand, then they're like, okay, cool. Like this person's soul is free or whatever. So that's the Hand of Glory. So why this is important is because Peter Niers and his gang thought if they could take the fat from some of the women they killed and the fetus hands, I guess, and make little tiny, very tiny candles, when they go into the houses that they're robbing and like potentially murdering more people, they won't get caught because I don't know.
Invisible because of the hand.
I don't know.
Glory?
Yeah, it's just some fucked up weird shit.
Jesus Christ.
Yeah, so anyway, this guy was a real asshole, and he was tortured to death over it, and it took 3 days, which is good because you make it long because he was so gross. And on the first day, strips of flesh were torn from his body, and then heated oil was poured into his wounds, which was definitely a form of torture back then.
That is awful.
Yeah, so gross. So that was the first day. So then he survived that. And then on the second day, his feet were smeared with heated oil again. So like already it burns your feet. And then they held his feet over some coals that were, roasting. And it burned his feet. Ugh. And then on the third day, in 1581, September of 1581, he was dragged to the place of execution finally. So he wasn't even there yet. And he was broken on the wheel that we talked about. So they lift the wheel up and just kind of smash it down on him 42 times. And then because he survived that, they finally dismembered him by quartering him. And that's where those horses are involved, and it's real gross.
Oh my God.
So he was like a total shithead and deserved all of it. So it's like not that big a deal. But
he's like murdering pregnant women and babies, so...
544 people, even if it was just the 24 women and their fetuses, like that's enough to be like, yeah, do what you gotta do.
Just one person.
Yeah,
I don't know.
I mean,
there's no cutoff. If you're a heinous piece of shit who thinks they're first of all, if you're a magician.
What are you? Y'all out of tricks? You can't get yourself out of this one?
Oh,
I thought you were a magician.
my God.
Yeah. So that's about it. That was a
wow.
prominent story.
It's a harrowing story. And,
yeah.
I mean, fucking hands of glory. I'm in the hand of glory. I don't know. Never mind.
Oh my gosh. Okay, well that's probably it for this week. I think we already said all this. Follow our social medias.
Social medias.
We did, right?
DTFU podcast.
Yeah. DT
On all the.
Yeah, all of them. Twitter.
Yeah, all of them.
Instagram.
Facebook. Facebook. And then if you want to
Email.
send us an email, dtfupodcast@gmail.com, not go fuck yourself @gmail.com.
But I'm thinking about buying that one also.
Oh, yeah, cool.
Or
I bet somebody has it.
Yeah, probably.
Well,
all right.
we did it.
We did it. We've saved the day.
Yes.
All right.
Hopefully.
Well,
all right.
Till next week. Oh, and tell your friends. Everybody tell your fucking
please
friends.
Tell your friends.
Because
tell everybody.
We know you're our friends, and we love that you love this, and it makes me so excited and happy, but also we need more people to listen. So...
Yeah, we appreciate all of our friends and family for listening, being supportive,
being excited about it. Like
being excited. It makes it makes my day. It makes me so happy.
So happy.
But if you really loved us,
yeah. And maybe if you like take a screenshot of you texting a friend about the podcast, like, oh hey, you should listen to this. I think you'd like it. It needs to be someone we don't know, and send us the proof that you sent them. The reco, and the next time we see you, we'll buy you a drink. A beer, a coffee, whatever you want.
Yes.
A tea, a bottle of fancy water.
And we're bi-coastal, so if you do it in LA, Nicole has you covered there. Yep. If you do it out here in DC, I might even make a special trip to New York. I don't know.
Oh, you don't know. We don't know.
We don't know. I'm coming out to LA in April, so maybe we can both buy you a drink at the same time.
Oh my God. We're going to record a live episode together in person. And it will be the best one. And we need to have a really good topic for that one.
Yeah. Oh, God. You got to really, really bring it.
Yeah. All right.
Cool.
Well, I think that's
all I got.
Me too.
All right. Well, I love you.
I love you too. Thanks for doing this twice today.
It's so fun. I love it.
Yeah, it wasn't that bad.
It's fine.
Okay. Bye-bye.
Bye. Bye.